Good morning. Welcome, friends. Thank you. My name is Chris Pudin. My pronouns are he, they, and I am your membership coordinator here at Beacon. I am a 5'6" white and proud queer folk, today wearing mostly all white, as Reverend Jay will talk more about a bit later. It's also really good to see y'all. As we welcome each other here today in shared worship and music, we also welcome Vicki Carter on piano and Ross Lakites returning with amazing vocal talent. A bonus for me getting here early on Sunday to hear them all rehearse, so y'all are fabulous, so thank you for being here. We also send a warm welcome in spirit and energy to the folks joining online with Pablo in the chat as your virtual usher, so please drop your name and your pronouns in the chat along with where you're joining us from today. And for the folks in the room, please take a moment to reach out and welcome someone, perhaps someone you haven't seen in a while, perhaps your first time seeing them, perhaps it's the folk you drove with today. And it's been such a hectic morning, you haven't yet had time to be with them in presence. So just take a moment for that now. All right. And now as we come back into our shared space together, let's just take one shared deep breath in and one out. So now I have a few announcements. Harvest Delight, taking place Saturday, November 2nd. There's an information table right outside the sanctuary as you walk by to the right. Get your tickets if you haven't yet. Donate a basket, a service, a group event. You all have so many wonderful gifts to share. So now's the time to sign up. And we have
Harvest
Delight.
Harvest Delight.
That's good. And the catalog. Thank you, Julie. Thank you. The catalog goes live on Tuesday, so be sure to watch out for that as well. Next week, October 27th, not as fun as Harvest Delight, but we do have Membership Sunday. The Connect team and the membership team, along with our ministers, will be celebrating our newest Beacon members with a chance for them to sign the membership book, and as well as honoring our 5-year, our 10-year, our 25 and 30-year members with a special recognition and a gift with a brunch to follow in early 2025. And the second event next week is our trunk and treat after second service at 695 Springfield. It's a reminder for all of you who signed up with Carol Congermiller at our Back to Beacon event with a commitment to decorate your car in Halloweeny celebration. It's a day for candy and community, and Carol's looking for volunteers, so if you can, remember to come after second service to 695 Springfield and help out, and it'll be a wonderful celebration. And just added one final event on November 3rd, librarian Martha Hickson will be joining us to talk about the ways that we can fight back against book banning and book censorship here in New Jersey. Martha is a friend of mine and an advocate and recently retired librarian who has received multiple awards on a national level for her advocacy promoting the freedom to read. And you can join Martha here at Beacon on November 3rd to hear more about how you can support the Freedom to Read Act, which has just passed the Education Committee in the New Jersey Senate last week with a vote of 3-2. It's moving to the Assembly and to the Senate to be voted on very, very soon. So Martha will give us more information on what we can do to contact our local Assembly folks and legislators. And also Missy is looking for volunteers because Summit Warm Hearts is starting the winter season this Monday, which is tomorrow. And we're moving to a 6-day-a-week program now. So if you have time in your schedule and would like to volunteer, please contact Missy for more information. So now I will turn this back over to our music folks. Welcome Ross and Vicky back for our next hymn.
1040, Hush. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Oh, my Lord, oh, my Lord, what shall I do? What shall I do? Sounds like freedom. Somebody's calling my name. Sounds like freedom. Somebody's calling my name. Sounds like freedom. Somebody's calling my name. Oh, my Lord, what shall I do? What shall I do? Sounds like justice. Somebody's calling my name. Sounds like justice. Somebody's calling my name. Sounds like justice. Somebody's calling my name. Oh, my Lord, what shall I do? What shall I do?
Oh, good morning. Come on, Beacon, good morning. It's good to see you this morning. We are going to go ahead. I am Reverend Dr. J. Exodus, J as in protege, as your friend in the fight, is one in solidarity. I am average height. I am middle-aged. Is that what they say, right? Yeah. I'm trying to do what Robin said to do. Right now, let me stop and pick. I am 40 years old, so I mean, I'm, you know, if it ain't cracking yet, it'll get there after a while. But I am wearing all white, giving a little old school Diana Ross look from the performances, right? That's what it was about, honey. With a turban on top of my head that's slightly tan, brown skin, locks are locked up into the turban as well. So that's enough of a description. It is good to be with you. It is good to share in joy in your face in the place. You are here, and I'm glad. I want to share with you the chalice lighting, and our value today is pluralism. Pluralism is one of our values within the UUA, and the words that come to me are the words of the famous Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman, where he says, "I want to be me without making it uncomfortable for you to be you." I want to be me without making it uncomfortable for you to be you. Pluralism is a very unique thing because it is not just a collective kind of universality, but it is looking at the unique, particular individual components that make us up and that offer us the authentic ability to be ourselves. And how do we do that for each other? So I offer you that value today as we explore today's topic as well and as we move forward. So thank you so much.
Good morning, everybody, again. My name is Tuli Patel. My pronouns are she, her, and today I'm wearing a blue tunic, a black sweater, and white shoes in a nod to the sermon topic of the day, which is who says you can't wear white after Labor Day? So for our time for all ages, you're all going to be asked to move a little bit. So feel free. Hippo was lounging in his backyard pool, pretending to swim. Can you pretend to swim? But who says that's not the real swimming, right? It could be, anyway. Pretending to swim when Sloth, hanging upside down from a tree branch, called out, "You can't swim like that. Come, climb this tree and hang upside down with me." That's probably not what Sloth said. Sloth probably said, "You shouldn't swim like that. Come, climb this tree and hang upside down." "I should?" asked Hippo. "You should, you should, you should," said Sloth. "Okay," said Hippo, "I guess I'll give it a try." So Hippo climbed out of the pond, tried to climb the tree, and whump, fell down on his rump. Flamingo strutted by. Can we strut? Can we strut? Strut? What are you all sitting down and strutting? Strut, people, strut. Strutted by and said, "Hey, come walk like me. Lift your chin and stretch your wing and up on your toes, and away we go." "Should I?" asked Hippo. He was back in the pond again. You should, said Flamingo. Hippo tried to reach high and stretch his chin. "I should be able to walk like that, shouldn't I?" Bee buzzed by and cried out, "Your dance is silly. Try mine. See, I can spin around." Spinning? People are not spinning. Spin around and round and float off the ground. Hippo cried, "I guess your dance is best, not mine, but I should try, shouldn't I?" You should, said Bee. And then woodpecker, giraffe, and crocodile all urged Hippo to eat like them, sing like them, slither like them, until the entire forest was saying, "You should, you should, you should, you should, you should, you should," until Hippo finally opened his mouth wide with all his teeth showing and said, "Stop! I don't want to sing like that. I like my la la la, la 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 pee. I don't want to peck like that. I like my chomp and slurp. I can't dance and slither like you or hang upside down. I move to a different beat that's better for my feet. I like your walk, and that's for you. I have a walk, and that's for me too. Upside down is not for me. I am choosing to be me." Here ends our time for all ages.
Good morning, Beacon. My name is Allison Murphy, she, her. I am a mid-40s also, woman with dark hair and a white sweater and a red stole. And the red stole, that means that I am one of the members of our chaplain team here at Beacon. The job of chaplains is to extend the spiritual care of our community. And what that looks like is that we meet with members of the community who are going through something. Anytime you are struggling, anytime you have something on your heart, you can sit with a member of our chaplain team, and we will be there and listen and hold space for you. And those conversations are always held in the strictest confidence. If at any point you feel like you are in need of spiritual care, as we all are at some points in our lives, you can reach out to a member of the chaplain team or to our lead ministry folks to be connected with a chaplain. One of the other roles that our chaplains have is to lead our community candle lighting. And this morning we'll be lighting 3 candles of hope, and then we'll invite you all to come forward and light candles with us of joy, celebration, sadness, whatever's on your heart. Do you want to do the candles? you want to do the candles? Thank you, Jay. This morning, the first candle of hope that we light is a candle of hope for ceasefire and calm in the ongoing unrest in Palestine, Israel, Lebanon, and Iran. May world leaders take action to stop the violence and loss of life. We light a candle of hope as early voting has started in many states across the U.S. this week. We acknowledge the complexity of emotions that Beacon members and our wider communities are feeling in this election cycle. And we light a candle of joy and maybe a little bit more hope for New York and New Jersey baseball fans, as the Mets and the Yankees have been making their way through the playoffs and maybe towards the World Series. So we invite you all to come forward now. If you're at home, you can light a candle where you are. If you're in the sanctuary, please come forward.
Please rise if you can and join in hymn 352, Find a Stillness. Find a stillness, hold a stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find the silence, hold the silence, let the silence carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony. Seek the essence, hold the essence, let the essence carry me. Let me flower, help me flower, watch me flower, carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony.
All right. So we're gonna do a little something small and just different, which is I want to give us the opportunity to do a reflection. And I have a tendency, I love to engage, if anything, most of all, our most human experiences. And I asked Chris to join me today because I was like, I want you to kind of share with me this topic of. Oh, thank you so much. Engage our topic, which is, who said, right, that you can't wear white after Labor Day? It's probably one of the most unique topics as we kind of ponder why would this topic exist. But one of the things that I was asking and talking to Chris about as we were kind of theologizing a bit was the idea of if we're going to engage this as a metaphor, when is the time that you, yourself, have felt like you wore white after Labor Day? What was the experience?
So just reflecting on this question, it's actually a pretty big one. And taking it as a metaphor, not literally, because I don't wear white. I tend to be clumsy, especially because I talk with my hands. The way that I've learned to show up as I've gotten older, recognizing the masks that I continuously wore in so many spaces that just never seemed to fit, but my culture, society, my job, my family, everyone, my friends told me that this was supposed to be the way. And when I started listening to my inner voice, that's really when I felt like I started owning my life, my reality. And it was also like counter to a lot of things that society was telling me is the way to be. So just being in it, like being really like fiercely not afraid to be vulnerable, not afraid to share emotions in ways that really express how I feel inside and that I truly care and want to be here and build community. And like that all is the thing that really like, it fuels me, but I also see it bringing joy to other people. So I feel like that's kind of my big one.
I love that. No, I think you know, like that kind of resonates with me as well, because like I find that when we live in a system that when we get in these systems in our head, a lot of them are not necessarily systems. They start off as narratives. What we're told to do, how we're expected to respond, how we're expected to hold our posture to make others feel comfortable, how we in some way have to engage other people's respectability and forget our own, right? My goal oftentimes even as a living, authentic presence, is to always show up courageously. I don't show up in the world to be comfortable. I show up in the world to be courageous. And that's a very different call, because I understand that I might not have the luxury to do that. And so I kind of, in the ideas and the words of Audre Lorde, that there is really no ethic to survival, right? That there is no ethic to survival. I don't know what it took for you to get here this morning. And so I actually want to give y'all the opportunity to kind of turn to someone, find someone if you can, and let's reflect on when is the time that you, give you 2 to 3 minutes, that you actually had to feel like you were wearing white after Labor Day. Y'all have 2 minutes, y'all. Go ahead, get the chatting, get the chatting. I know that's a little different, come on. Yeah, I'm gonna be down there. Yep, I just wanted to check the notes, make sure we're on cue, and then we have testimony. Okay. We're just gonna listen. Okay. Oh, you're done. You want some company? Sure. Cool. When did you start wearing white after Labor Day?
I never gave it a thought. Why should I do that?
What narrative did you change in your life?
What narrative? I changed from time to time. For example, I am here and happy because we do not have a creed or a set of beliefs that you must hold, and everybody is authentic. It seems authentic to who or she or he is, and therefore, for example, today I have a friend who's very ill. I put a candle. I will tell his wife that I put a candle. And putting the candle helped me. But I don't think that the candle has anything to do with him. In fact, I don't think the waves go out and come back.
Okay, I get you. Yeah, I get that. That's a real thing for me as a humanist. I'm definitely like, it's nice. It's a nice symbolic gesture, but it's not the thing that.
But if you don't have a place to do it.
Yeah.
And I don't have you to talk to, and so forth and so on. I lose, or I'm so more isolated.
Yes.
Isolation is not healthy for human beings.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Thank you, Jim. I'm gonna get us back started.
All right.
I feel that way a lot too.
Testing 1, 2. All you need is love, love, love. All you need is love, love, love. All you need is love. All right, let's bring it back in. Let's bring it back in. Let's bring it back in. So I hope that you had the wonderful opportunity to share. I hear some laughter. I hope that you were able to gather some textures. I want to turn this portion back over to our testimony portion, and I'm super excited. Kimmy, come on through.
Good morning, Beacon people. I'm Kimi Nakata. I'm an older woman. I use she, her pronouns. I'm half Japanese and half Scottish, and I identify as Asian American. I have long salt and pepper hair and wearing glasses and a purple shirt. I joined Beacon about 20 years ago with my wife, Kathy Bataille, who's sitting in the front row, and our daughter, Julia, who was then in 2nd grade. We were drawn to this congregation sense of community and hope, and the social justice commitments of Unitarian Universalism. The very active religious education program, including Our Whole Lives, was also very important to us. Our daughter's 28 now, and she still is close to her friends from 10 years of religious education and youth group here. It's had a really lasting influence in her life. Over my time as a member, I've been involved in many areas, including the Social Justice Task Force, co-facilitating anti-racism training, and I've been a member of the board since 2022, and I was on the board at an earlier point, about 14 years ago. I'm also a board member of the Beacon Hope and Equity Center, which is Beacon's arm for providing emergency assistance. And I'm a member of the Widening the Circle Committee, which works on implementing what was called the 8th principle, which is looking at addressing institutional racism within Unitarian Universalism, or trying to answer the question of, we're such wonderful people, why are we still one of the whitest denominations in the United States? In the Widening the Circle group, I'm currently involved in planning a gathering of multiracial, multicultural families to happen in probably sometime in November. My community group has been an important part of my life for the last 5 or 6 years and has deepened my connections in spirituality even as the group membership has changed from year to year. And if you're not yet involved in any groups within Beacon, I encourage you to find your people and become part of this community of communities, and there are many ways in. I definitely encourage you to come to Harvest Delight and find a way to get together with other people in one of the meals that we might prepare together or go out together for. It's a way that I have really had fun with a lot of people here. And there are just many ways to get connected here. So I encourage you to find yours. And I've certainly received a lot from this community, and I really appreciate all that I've gotten here, and I've done my best to give back to this community. And so I appreciate your gifts in monetary terms this morning as we take our collection for our ongoing work together.
I've learned to slam on the brake before I even turn the key, before I make the mistake, before I lead with the worst of me. Give them no reason to stare, no slipping up if you slip away. So I got nothing to share, no, I got nothing to say. Step out of the sun if you keep getting burned. Step out of the sun because you've learned, On the outside, always looking in, will I ever be more than I've always been? 'Cause I'm tapping on the glass. I'm waving through a window. I try to speak, but nobody can hear, so I wait around for an answer to appear while I'm watching people pass. I'm waving through a window. Can anybody see? Is anybody waving back at me? We start with stars in our eyes, we start believing that we belong. But every sun doesn't rise, and no one tells you where you went wrong. Step out of the sun if you keep getting burned. Step out of the sun because you've learned. On the outside, always looking in. Will I ever be more than I've always been? 'Cause I'm tapping on the glass. I'm waving through a window. I try to speak, but nobody can hear. So I wait around for an answer to appear. 'Cause I'm tapping on the glass. I'm waving through a window. Can anybody see? Is anybody waving? When you're falling in a forest and there's nobody around, do you ever really crash or even make a sound? When you're falling in a forest and there's nobody around, do you ever really crash or even make a sound? When you're falling in a forest and there's nobody around, do you ever really crash or even make a sound? When you're falling in a forest and there's nobody around, do you ever really crash or even make a sound? Did I even make a sound? Will I even make a sound? It's like I never made a sound. Will I ever make a sound? On the outside, always looking in. Will I ever be more than I've always been? 'Cause I'm tapping on the glass. I'm waving through a window. I try to speak, but nobody can hear. So I wait around for an answer to appear while I'm watching people pass. I'm waving through a window. Can anybody see? Is anybody waving back at me? Is anybody waving? Waving? Whoa, whoa.
Thank you, Ross. Is that better? I think that's a little bit better. Thank you so much. So, this is my first sermon with y'all. So, this will not be my last. I just want to first thank, first of all, my Beacon community for having me. I also just want to say thank you to Robin for entrusting me today to do this work. It is never easy, but my hat is off to Reverend Robin for allowing for me to do it. But the topic today is regards to who says you can't wear white after Labor Day. And if you've ever actually experienced this, you would probably notice that most people avoid white after Labor Day. Where did this idea come from? Has anybody really dared to just really wear white after Labor Day? Great. Okay, so I got some folk who like to break rules. Because that's what this is about, right? Breaking rules, changing things. Now, if you've never done that before, you've never really thought about it. It's perfectly fine. I'm not trying to change the way that you engage your fashion governance. I don't want to go through nobody's closet and rearrange it and put you through a whole moment of queer eye for whatever person in the room. What I will say, actually, is that this is also a part of our larger theme this month, which has a lot to do with deep listening. How we wake up and engage our moments of wearing white after Labor Day. It is somewhat metaphorical. It is also very much so a topic that can be very difficult because most of the time, as soon as we hear this kind of question, especially from a person of color, we think we're going to lean into race because we are talking about white. And as soon as we bring up the color, it does that all of a sudden. And I want to just bring us into a space where my work, particularly, I love to engage, is race, but also particularly around aesthetics. Aesthetics is the spiritual sister to cultural phenomenons. In short, I'd like to just say that, like, if it's beautiful, then let it be in the presence of our life. And how do we make life, and how do we make our world, how do we make our habits beautiful, that others can see themselves in the beauty we're trying to convey in the world? As a child, I certainly can remember the desire to wear white after Labor Day. I was quickly getting ready to put on white after Labor Day. School was my favorite shirt. My mom had just got it for me. It had a little blue ink splot with fake pencils in the top of the pocket. It was a gorgeous shirt, but it was drastically white. My mother looked at me and said, no, you can't wear that. You can't wear that. I said, okay. My dad looked at me and said, yeah, no, Jay, don't put that on. I'm confused. And of course, my parents are truly fashionovas and fashionistas. I grew up in a household where technically to be fashionably aware was also a sign of culturally appropriate. Fashion in my household was somewhat like an armor. You put it on as a sense of respectability, that I deserved to be in any space that I decided to be in because I was dressed for the moment. I was presentable and acceptable. It was what we would consider a respectability politic. To have that was in some way a guard. My family had already done much of the other labor because to actually change the narrative of what most people in the particular South that I was in, Richmond, Virginia, in the early 80s and 90s, we would see that there was a particular narrative around how Black people spoke, how they looked, how they dressed, what they ate, where they lived. And so these assumptions my parents as New Yorkers did not have to deal with until they got to the South. So I didn't listen to a lot of hip hop music. That was not something in my repertoire. My parents had me listening to the Motown, had me listening to Sarah Vaughan, and had me listening to John Coltrane, Nat King Cole, you name it. I was all the way down into Fats Waller in 1930. Clearly I wasn't misbehaving and all by myself. But it was a part of my makeup, and it meant that I was cultured to have such a thing. So wearing white after Labor Day, this is a very interesting thing because my mother and father, my father was deeply into Brooks Brothers, and my mother was working at one point at Saks Fifth and had always been in high name, high brand. She would actually love, I can guarantee you, she would love Summit and the short mall nearby, okay? It's an experience for my mother. And the funny thing is that with that, it was all out of protection for me to be informed that way and to always fit the social climate. So where does this don't wear white after Labor Day come from? I was curious, and sure some of you were like, I never thought about it. And and what comes up is that it actually is, Vogue explains it this way, that it came during the Gilded Era. And the Gilded Era, or the Gilded Age, was a time in the late 1800s. And during that time, what would happen every summer, people would kind of decamp from the crowd, and then they would put on something cooler and go out to, after being in Newport or the Southampton for the entire season, they would actually pack up all of their white, put it away, right? And this is because white, after Labor Day, was only for a particular class. Particular people could wear white. Only because, right, you had certain kind of jobs associated with those who could afford to wear white without getting dirty from the city, or they rode chariots or carriages, if you will, through the city, and so they didn't have to do labor. You could tell if somebody wore white after Labor Day because their hands were softer. This is a very interesting era because the Gilded Era actually highlights some things regarding key issues in America at the time in that late 19th century. We see that these issues that were rising were around race and ethnicity. We see immigration issues. We also see a framework around labor and harsh labor treatment. We see the issue with women's rights in their bodies. We also see a constant pushback on indigenous living and rights survival. We also see a political corruption happening around that time in addition to monetary policy. Does this sound familiar? So, to wear white after Labor Day only meant that people wore white because it was actually a reflection of the sun. I'm asking us to look at white now because if we're going to use this as reflection, what do we see in our politic coming? How well are we reflecting that nothing has really changed? That if I can pull back a gilded era of time and actually see today the same issues still scratching at our walls of justice, I'm concerned. I'm concerned because when I look at wearing white after Labor Day, it needs to be so much of a disruption, as Coco Chanel made it, that if we wear it all year round, then what would it look like on us if it was to really manifest? Who are we when we wear our authentic self? How brave are we when we step outside of the social political climate that is already underway? What happens when we actually decide to be the person who decides to break out of the Labor Day rule and say, I'm going to fight for indigenous rights and survival of the land. I'm going to actually work towards pushing on an immigration agenda. I'm going to work on thinking about labor and opportunities for people to have employment. What then have we made it when we decide to break such rules? It is owning the narrative for ourselves, maybe socially and culturally, or maybe it's more personal. Maybe the world is too big and its problems are too large. But if I can just take the moment to get us to embrace how we start maybe in this place. Why this sermon for Beacon? This sermon particularly is because Beacon as a building is white all year round. So we're already off the beaten path. We're always in season when everybody thinks we're out of season, right? Kimmy said it best. I don't know why. We're such nice people. And maybe we've done very good at fitting the climate, but maybe it's time for us to engage a bit of transformation. Maybe it's time for us to allow for our white to be worn, because white was not worn because throughout the year, because if you were a laborer, you were sweaty. It's time to sweat. It's time to sweat, and it's time to break into a sweat. It's time to break this stigma and also the classism, and it's time to break into a new mode of thinking about actually building the momentum to say that Beacon is not just a church sitting on top of a hill. It is actually a place of transformation. The first thing that we think about when we hear the term white, we think about probably purity. Maybe it's innocence. Maybe those are our reasons for thinking about white. And when we wear it, what is it supposed to mean when we decide to join in it? We think about clarity. But if all these things are psychologically about the color, may I offer you something a little slightly different? I want to invite you into an African-based context called Yoruba. This particular tradition engages multiple orishas, which are gods or spirits or guides. And there's one that I want to point out today. Their name is Abattolau. Abattolau is either male, female, or androgynous. Abattolau is known as the person, or sometimes considered the old man on the mountain. even with non-binary terms. This practice of Obatala actually, Obatala surfaces and lives in the mountains, lives at the summit of the hill, and he holds the term honesty, purpose, forgiveness, resurrection, and he is divine sculptor. I would like to impart in us today that maybe we can glean from this kind of spirit guide, if you will, and think about divine sculpting for a minute. And think about what it feels like and looks like in our generation today. Obatalau's favorite color is white. Anytime you see an altar to Obatalau, it is completely white. The practitioners wear white. Nothing is out of color. Because if anything, when we see Obatalau's presence, we see justice. When we see an Obatalau practice, we see someone who's truthful. When we see a Batalau practice, we also see a person who has a heart of forgiveness. When we see it, we also see a need to be a creator. I'm not inviting us to be pure. I'm not inviting us to be innocent or think that we have the greatest wisdom of them all, but I can invite you to actually be creators with me. I can invite you to do the very thing that Obatalau does best, and how they do it is that they actually engage and make everything accessible. In an actual proverb, in short, Obatalau is actually, they have the opportunity to make all of humankind as a gift from the greater supreme spirit. Obatalau was given grape wine to drink. In drinking the grape wine, Obatalau enjoys it so much that Obatalau becomes drunk. As Obatalau is making humanity, ears fall off, limbs fall off. Obatalau is the only very few deities that actually engages disability justice. And the practice of Obatalau is making accessible, because Obatalau takes accountability for all of creation. I'm inviting you to be that sculptor and deal with maybe the sometimes difficult moments in which we have to take accountability in shifting what we have always understood as a social structure to say, let's change the narrative from reflection to transformation. Because there is no reason why you can't wear white after Labor Day. It really is no reason at all. There is no reason to actually see the same kind of reflections of the Gilded Era in today when we live in 2024. There is no need for the politics and the industrial corruptions to continue as long as we decide to be the disruptor and create something new. My question to you, Beacon, is what are we willing to reimagine? What are we really willing to reimagine? What are we really able to offer forgiveness to and atone for when we are particularly a predominantly white religious institution that's filled with nice people? What can we do? We can do a lot because we actually have the relationship building, and Beacon is different. Beacon is different. Beacon is authentic. Beacon has the ability to be brave and courageous in spaces that say this is the social norm. It holds the light and the divinity of all people. Maybe you haven't figured out what that feels like socially, politically yet, but I can invite you maybe to consider what Ayana Van Vant says. It's okay to be selfful. Selfful. To be selfful is to know that you are doing as good as possible in the world for you. It's okay to take care of you, she says. Keep yourself whole and healthy. That doesn't mean that you disregard everything and everybody, But you have to come with your cup full. You have to come with your cup full and know that you are enough. That your cup does run over. And please know, in the self-full mindset, the cup runs over. So anything that anybody experiences on the outside of the cup is for them. And for those who need to know the cup that you have, that you are, is for you. Keep your cup full, Beacon. Keep your cup full. Because at this point, it's time for us to really think about what we offer, what we bring, what is contagious, what do we really give as a formation to transforming the narratives, the social narratives, our personal narratives. What would it have meant for me to actually be the kid who put on that shirt? What if I did say for a moment to my parents, I actually want to put it on? I'm quite sure my parents would have been like, sure, fine. But I didn't push it. I didn't push it even with my curiosity. I didn't get a chance to push it, and I didn't feel comfortable pushing it until I became into my mid-30s. That's a long time to keep a tradition that has no weight. If we're still keeping same practices since 1890, it's a long time to keep traditions and systems. At some point, we've got to break them. And I'm asking you to do that with me. I'm asking you to continuously trouble the waters, be the Michelle Obamas who wear white throughout the year. I thank y'all so much. And that concludes.
Please welcome Jean and Sarah to share the microphone and join in hymn 118, This Little Light of Mine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Building up a world. Building up a world. I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world. I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world. I'm gonna let it shine. 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 Let it shine.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, as we get ready to close and we do the benediction, grab somebody's hand next to you. Find somebody beloved, somebody bright, someone that's holding the light, and hold their light right beside you. There we go, that's good. I'm a part of that process. Well, I just want to say that whatever we do today, go in transformation. Go in transformation. Let your cup be full. May it run over, where others can share in the thirst and the water that you are, and at the same time hold that which is you. Be authentic to you. Break the rules as you know that they need to be broken for not only yourself, but for others, so they may live courageously in the world. Go and be blessed and be your best self. Amen.